add on to this analysis of the 1MDB and also trying to understand the developed status. I think it's a question of how we want to define what is development and what is the developed status. So if we take the Vision 2020 9 challenges, it's much wider than just income or having millionaires or billionaires or the number of people not driving Mercedes-Benz but driving Daimlers or something, or having private jets and flying around in a very market-driven way. I would then define it much wider and broader using quality of life indicators. And so if you take that, which is part of the development agenda of looking at multidimensional quality of life, housing, number of people who own a decent house. So previously a one-bedroom house was acceptable. Today most people would say you need to have at least a 3-bedroom house or apartment. Just look at the allocation and discussion on affordable housing in the budget. The quantums are very low to what needs to be done to address housing, healthcare, quality education, and so forth. But I think the 1MDB, as you said, is symptom of a wider issue. I feel it's a reflection of a crisis, which is a moral and value crisis, where corruption and misuse of funds have become a normal practice and an acceptable way. It's not just one person doing it. It was institutions that backed it. It's a corruption of a whole society that brought a government down. But the features of that action and desire and change, effects of it, I think still is very strong. And I think that is why the institutional reforms of whether Parliament, the Human Rights Commission, anti-corruption, enforcement is so critical because of this. This doesn't mean that Western society is the real model of development, because corruption of the big players have been there as well. But in our society, it's this sort of an acceptance at that particular period in time. And now, if you see the trials, you see the reaction to the trials, you see discussions, you see people who are being charged, hailed as political heroes, and so forth. So it is a moral crisis of a society to recognize whether there is abuse of power and whether these abuses should stop. Is that institutional reform strong enough to prevent further?